Welcome back to Yang Speaks, everybody. It's your favorite non-Andrew Yang co-hosts coming at you every Thursday. This is Zach Grauman and Carly Riley. As a fun reminder, I think this is our second to last time we're going to do this, Carly, because...
Or a not so fun reminder.
Well, maybe it's not that fun. We have a lot coming down the pike starting October 5th, guys. Andrew's book's coming out, and we've got a new studio. We've got new guests. We've got Yang coming back. Whole bunch of fun stuff coming out.
Twice a week.
What's that?
He's coming back twice a week. That's what you
Twice
mean.
A week. Well, he's going to be all day, every day. He's going to be too much Yang.
Constantly.
Just can't get rid of him. But on today's episode, folks, got a couple things. As usual, we want to cover what the media is not covering well enough. Either they're not covering at all or they're not covering very well. Let's put it that way. So three things we want to talk about. We want to talk about Facebook apparently being aware of how bad it is and being caught knowing how terrible it is for teenagers and what that means.
I feel like the media is covering that. Is it covering that? I would think the media
I think it's covering that, but I don't think the right perspectives covered.
Okay.
The media is covering these, but I think they're not covered the right way. The second one is maybe less covered is El Salvador is essentially just moving to Bitcoin for its citizens. And
well, it's made it legal tender. It's made Bitcoin legal tender.
Yeah, El Salvador Bitcoin is happening. And the mayor of San Francisco, who has the strictest mask mandates in the country, essentially got caught without one and then doubled down on it. And I want to talk about it. So let's dive in. Facebook under fire this week. Anytime it's tech in the news, we like to get in there. So a couple things happened. Wall Street Journal, give them some credit, dove in two scathing reports on Facebook. One was less covered than the other. One was that apparently Facebook has a private registry of very important people, celebrities and politicians, who are kind of exempt from their strict content posting rules that govern all of us. That didn't get a ton of news. That makes sense to me as a for-profit company, frankly. I hope Andrew Yang was on that for a little bit. Maybe I don't know, whatever that means. That's not the point. The bigger one was that this was big. Facebook own researchers had documented the psychological dangers of Instagram, which Facebook owns, of course, that Instagram poses to teenagers, specifically teenage girls. And the quotes were this: "We, Instagram, make body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls. Teens blame Instagram for increases in the rate of anxiety and depression. The reaction was unprompted and consistent across all groups. And internal studies showed that among teens who reported suicidal thoughts, 13% of British users and 6% of American users traced the desire to kill themselves to Instagram," which is sad.
You know, one of my first thought when I heard some of this was, I'm actually surprised it's not more in terms of like 1 in 3 girls say Instagram make their body image issues worse. I would be surprised if it's not actually higher than that, right? Like that's what's reported or that's who will say it. But like, it's hard to imagine any woman, especially a teenager, right, who's on Instagram seeing all of the versions of bodies that people want them to see and they're not feeling more insecure.
Let me ask you this. As from a woman's perspective, because I'm not a woman. If it's not Instagram, like I feel like Facebook and Instagram have just accelerated what was already a thing. Like if it wasn't Instagram, it was MTV. If it wasn't MTV, it was magazines. If it wasn't magazines, it was fashion shows. Like
I think part of the distinction here, though,
teenage girls and guys, but in this case, teenage women are going to be insecure, and they're self-reporting in some of this study. Is this the scapegoat for something that a lot of teenage girls go through with or without Instagram, or do you think this actually accelerating, making it worse?
Oh no, I definitely think it's accelerating it. I think the number of hours people are spending on Instagram is, I think is just more than the number of hours people were spending on MTV, probably, or on magazines. The other thing is, in some cases, it's your peers, right? So like now you're not just comparing yourself to Kim Kardashian or, Kendall, who you can say, okay, but they're photoshopped and they're famous and whatever. Now you're looking at the version, like your friends' versions of what they want to present themselves as, or people your age, right? Or people who feel like more like quote unquote normal, who are also just presenting their most idealized self in most scenarios, right? And or who themselves could be face tuning or airbrushing, because that's the other piece of this is the way that filters impact this, like the filters people put on Instagram. And so I think that takes it to a whole nother dimension, is now you're also comparing yourself to people who are supposed to be normal, but who are also probably doctoring things. And it absolutely makes it worse than just MTV or magazines.
Yeah. Okay. And that makes sense. And I think it's one thing to know that there's the hot girls in school and not be invited to their parties, or go to their parties and see them, looking hot every once in a while. It's another thing to see it every day.
Yeah, the pictures and
liking it, and
the like thing. Exactly. And I think that honestly, like, I think the likes are a huge part of all of this, right? Like, I can't imagine if I had been a teenager I guess, I had Facebook and likes were sort of a part of that, but like, it's just a whole new level now, right? Like, if I was 13 and 14 when like Instagram and like culture, I just think it would be really, really hard. So I don't know what the answer is here. I mean, I know there were proposals put up, I think, by the employees when they were of Facebook when they were finding this stuff. But I definitely think we should be protecting kids. I guess this in some ways ties to the conversation you and I had last week about China banning video games past 3 hours, or limiting video games to 3 hours. Like, we need to have protection against what kids are seeing. Now, how do you protect them from seeing their friend looking hot? I don't really know, but what are your thoughts?
Well, here's my general thoughts. All right. I think Facebook to me is Pandora's box, and we have opened that shit. This company has found a business, has the tech ability to connect the entire world. And it is incentivized in doing so by making a profit. It has for-profit motivations, and therefore it is incentivized right now by controversy, by engagement, by people talking. So I think maybe this is stupid, maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like this is bigger than Zuckerberg. I feel like Zuckerberg and the Facebook executives I don't think any human could possibly fully understand the beast that they have created. It's taking down governments. It's destroying us from the inside. We used to talk about too big to fail. I think this thing's too big to run. Like, it's so big. It's larger than almost every country. And it's making us, the studies are crazy. Now, Facebook did put out a response, which I thought was funny. Funny in a couple of things. One, Facebook refuses to admit publicly that social media ever causes harm. What they will say is that social media studies are inconclusive. But there are no objective, peer-reviewed studies that are showing social media doing anything positive for mental health.
Right.
Those don't exist. But
what is the advantage to them of not saying, yeah, we get this is a mixed bag? Because then they feel like they have to say what they're doing about it.
Well, then they would have to say we're creating evil, or creating something that's net. Their mission is to connect the world and do positive things to the world. And let's be real, we know that Facebook and the internet, we like it, like in many ways, we all use it. It does do a lot of good. There's plenty of good that comes from the internet and social media. But I do think it's weird to say with a straight face that it's inconclusive.
It just seems so bizarre. Like, it doesn't pass the smell test. Like, I didn't need a study to tell me this was bad for women's mental health.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the other thing that they said, Carl, was that, and I actually kind of agree with this. They're they're saying you're calling us irresponsible, but the real irresponsible thing to do would actually not do our own research on this, which I do agree with. If they fundamentally didn't care, they wouldn't be running studies. Now, maybe they're doing these studies to check a box. I'm not sure.
Or they're doing the studies to, like, I don't know what they have to have, like, counter messaging for. Like,
I think
if they're not going to do anything about it, or even acknowledge the problem, then why are they doing the studies?
Well, that's my point. I do think they do some things because it's a big ass company, but there are some human beings within that company that try. There are plenty.
There are a lot. Yeah, right. Absolutely.
But the realistic thing that I'm getting at, and my point is, why should they? Like, we could say, I'm not saying they shouldn't from a moral standpoint, but the only reason you could argue that Facebook employees and leadership should try to not ruin people's mental health is, one, their moral obligation, like their own ethics and code, which is not incentivized in that company at all. And that company is designed to cut the other way and just make money and not care. And then the other one is really just to navigate PR crises. And how does that work? All he has to do, and then maybe you argue the government as a third, but or new regulations. But right now, all Zuck has to do is navigate each crisis one at a time, duck his head in the attention economy until our attention span goes somewhere else. That is literally all he has to do. And then he gets to go back to printing cash and ruining our minds.
Have you seen among the people who hate Zuck and hate Facebook and absolutely think they should be doing more, like what the proposed solutions are? Because I do think it is a really hard thing to combat without completely just killing your product. Like your product is selling aspirationalism. Like you're selling the very thing that's causing the problem.
I am not an expert in this. Neither is Andrew. We have had some guests on that are close to experts or experts in their own lane. And we have talked about a lot of solutions. The solutions can go from helping people profit off their data, switching from to like a Netflix model, like a subscription model, and maybe the government paying for that as a transition.
But how does that help with girls' self-esteem issues is what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, then it gives Facebook, like trying to change the incentives for Facebook, because right now the algorithms are designed for engagement. And there's ways that if that starts to go away, you can, now it doesn't always help if girls want to go look at other women to feel insecure because they want, because they're.
Yeah, let's be clear. It's not, they can seek it out. They're not trying to feel insecure, but yes, I understand.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But there are, and then there's others. There's plenty of congressmen and women that have said we should break them up. There's, here's my idea. My idea is I do think we have to regulate it because we talked about this last episode. It's unacceptable to me to do nothing. I don't know what you can do, but my first thing is my suggestion is Facebook free Fridays. I can't remember where I got that from. I don't think it was a Yang thing. Maybe it was Facebook free Fridays. Just try it one day, and that's just Facebook.
You're just off social media.
You have to find a way, but probably all social media. And you could get the tech giants in a room and probably hammer out a way to make it fair.
So make them required to shut down on Fridays?
Shut down, yeah.
Oh God, I don't know. It feels like there's literally the military has social media strategies. We can't do you know what I mean? The military tracks social media usage in
Facebook can turn off. There is an off button, I'm sure. And
no, I know, but I'm wondering if that's button? What we want.
Is there an off button?
Okay. Well, here's something that I want to highlight that I actually that is connected to this conversation, and it's a shout out to Jamila Jamil, who's the actress from The Good Place. She's a big activist, and she, I know, has worked and lobbied so that I believe it's accounts with associated with people under the age of 18. And specifically women, but it applies to everyone, aren't shown ads for weight loss products. Because that's, as we talk about body image, that's part of it too, is you have girls seeing tummy tea, right? Which are really basically just diuretics that make you go to the bathroom a lot. And that's just really harmful things and reinforcing this idea of lose weight to a population that's already very vulnerable to feeling like they need to be thinner or need to be whatever, right? Need to be hotter. So I'm super in support of that. That very much feels to me you can't advertise cigarettes to kids. So I know she was a huge voice in that. I believe successfully got that put in place on Instagram where the weight loss products cannot advertise to people under 18. So that's awesome. I think, depending on where we are with all of that, doubling down on some of those kinds of initiatives definitely would be positive.
I think it's one of the reasons why Andrew doesn't like when we keep talking about, this solution would be great, because the reality is, in order for things to get done, and right now it takes heroes to actually do it. It takes someone like Yang to stick his hand in the freaking running machine and run for president with everyone laughing at him. It takes someone like who you just mentioned, Jamil, who's what's her name? Jamila. Sorry.
Jamila.
To do a Herculean effort to get Congress to actually take some action. That's what it takes right now. And that's because government's not working. And that's a lot of reasons why he's doing what he does and why we love him. So Facebook free Fridays. Would love your thoughts. Hit me up. All right, guys, I've been traveling a good amount this summer, getting my breather in. And one of the things I actually miss the most is my mattress. So I've been sleeping on mattresses that are fine, decent hotels, but it is not my Helix mattress. And Helix Sleep has the best mattress on the market. I love this freaking thing. I've had guests come in our home and casually sit on our bed, and they're like, wow, this thing is awesome. Because it is. So here's how it works. Helix Sleep has a quiz that you take online for 2 minutes to complete and matches your body type and sleep preference to the perfect mattress for you. So everybody's unique. Helix knows that. So I have different mattress models to choose from soft to medium to firm. Great for cooling you down if you sleep hot. Great for spinal alignment, prevent morning aches and pains. All these different things for different size of people or types of people or how you sleep. So I took the quiz. I got the biggest mattress you could possibly find. It cools me down, and it's medium soft is where I'm at. So if you're looking for a mattress
Or if you just want to upgrade a little bit, take the quiz, find the mattress that works for you, and it gets shipped to your door for free. You don't have to go to the mattress store ever again. And you don't need to take my word for it. It's literally been the best. This was named the #1 best mattress in 2020 by GQ and Wired. It's been recommended by multiple leading chiropractors and doctors. So this thing is awesome. So go to helixsleep.com/yang, take their 2-minute quiz, and they'll match you to a customized mattress that'll give you the best sleep of your life, which is true. They also have a 10-year warranty, and you get to try it out free for 100 nights. So don't miss this. We're giving you up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows. Pillows are clutch. For our listeners, that's helixsleep.com/yang. Get $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows at helixsleep.com/yang.
Carla, this is in your wheelhouse, but I saw this headline and I think
I'm
to talk
excited
about it.
this.
I saw that El Salvador had, I think the number was 1.6 million people have a Bitcoin wallet in a country of 6 million people.
Yeah, I can speak to this.
So please tell me what's happening, what they're doing, and why we should care.
Yeah, I'm super, super, super excited about this. As you might imagine, if you know anything about me, which is that I love crypto. So essentially, back in June, the El Salvadoran president announced that Bitcoin, he was going to put a motion in place, or a law in place, basically, for Bitcoin to become legal tender in El Salvador. And that just recently went into effect. So it is officially legal tender. You can go to a McDonald's in El Salvador and you can buy a hamburger with Bitcoin. You use a QR code. Like, people are doing this every day. And you actually are required, like, businesses are required to accept Bitcoin. Now, there are some exceptions, like there are certain businesses that haven't gotten set up with it yet, et cetera. They're not being penalized, but it is official legal tender. So
law
I think
of the land, Bitcoin.
I'll give you the brief history here, right? For folks who don't know, El Salvador is a very poor country. You have a tremendous number of people who live on like less than 4,000 USD a year. About 25% of their GDP is remittance payments, I think they're called. But basically, expats living outside of El Salvador, sending money back into the country. That's 25% of their GDP. You have people who have left El Salvador or left a country in South America and now are somewhere else earning a living and sending money back to their home country and to their family. That's one scenario. Yeah. The second scenario is you have people who are still in that country but work for a company that's in a different country. So, for example, I am working with somebody now who's based in Argentina, who was working for a US-based company and was getting paid in crypto, because the alternative was to get paid in USD and then to transition those to pesos where he was. The central bank would take a huge cut of his money. So taking it in crypto was a way to maximize his salary. So that's common throughout South America. That was, a huge part of GDP was coming from those kinds of funds in El Salvador specifically. But I think to take a step back even further, the very brief history of, call it, money in El Salvador, very, very brief, is they had a currency called the colon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it fell subject and fell prey to what a lot of these currencies do, which was high rates of inflation after a civil war in like the late 70s, early 80s. In 2001, El Salvador adopted US dollars as like a legal tender, and that has been like the primary currency in El Salvador now for the last 20 years. But you have the US printing US dollars like crazy, and then controlling the circulation in and out of El Salvador, which was causing a lot of problems for the country. They were very at the whims of the United States and our central banking system. 70% of folks in El Salvador are unbanked, right? So the president of El Salvador has now come out and talked about this quite a bit, because you have all sorts of folks mad that Bitcoin is being made legal tender, mostly folks who have a vested interest in the dollar continuing to be a prominent currency in El Salvador. And the president was like, look, y'all had 20 years to help get more of our people into the like traditional financial system, and you did not do it. You don't get to complain now that we're finding another route. Right. The thing that I'm sort of most excited about this is simultaneous to it, the government is funding educational programs, crypto education for individuals and institutions around the country. That I think is awesome. It's like financial literacy in general, right? And so that's super exciting. The other thing, this is wild, that they say they're doing is that they are going to be mining Bitcoin using heat power from their volcanoes. So they're using their volcanoes, they're claiming, to mine Bitcoin. And then the president has said that Bitcoin will be used to invest in infrastructure projects around the country. So like this guy Bukele seems incredibly, for, whether this works or not, I mean, he's bold, and I think it's really, really interesting what he's doing. He's also incentivizing investment in Bitcoin in the country. He's saying you get permanent resident status if you invest more than 3 Bitcoin in El Salvador. Mm-hmm. So you can, and that includes like real estate. So you can buy a house in El Salvador.
And pause. We're buying a house in El Salvador for some Bitcoin. This is, look, I think when El Salvador has more financial literacy education on a public level than the United States of America, we have a bit of a problem. But this is what you've been talking about with crypto, Carly, this is what you've been talking about with crypto, Carly, in that there's a world where a country like El Salvador, who probably missed the boat on financial market boom of the past 100 years or so, is now able to get access to the next one because of the way technology is making this more accessible. Am I right?
Well, and for seizing the opportunity, right? I think that is what I'm so excited about. And amazing. I've been doing these like info sessions on Zooms and things because I do want to get more people into this space, because I think we're at this really pivotal moment, and we will be for at least a little while longer, right? Where you have an opportunity to like change the fates of people in really prominent ways because of this technology and because of the wealth it's going to create. Wealth will be lost as well, make no mistake about it. But I think it's incredible. I love that he's trying something here. I mean, I hope it works out for them. And I think it's really exciting. I love that he's embracing it. So many countries are trying to overregulate it and they don't even understand it. So hats off to El Salvador.
Hats off to El Salvador. ETH is down, but I'm still very bullish. We're buying the dip. Guys, buy crypto.
Well, hey, now let's do your research, and then if you determine you like it,
I'm not an investment professional. This is not an official investment recommendation. I think you should buy ETH.
I agree.
Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is something that this triggered me. I'd say it triggered me, and I think. The press has been covering it a certain way, but I wanted to give maybe a lesson from someone who grew up in a Republican-leaning household, why stuff like this pisses off Republicans so much. So the mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, was caught maskless at a concert, nightclub. And now, I want to be very clear. I care less if people wearing masks in a nightclub, especially if you're vaccinated. Like, do you? Okay, this is not a personal thing on that sense. But this made a lot of news, both on the left and the right, but of course on the right, because San Francisco has the strictest, or one of the strictest, I believe it is the strictest, mask mandates in the country. And they require you to wear a mask indoors at all time. They have since August, and they did a lot before then too, but as of August for the Delta variant. So she was caught in this video, dancing, having fun, having a blast, listening to Tony, who hadn't performed in 20 years, which was a very cool concert. Glad she got to go. This looks sick. However, and then when asked about it, this is our leader who made the mask mandates, who's enforcing the mask mandates.
This is the part that makes me laugh. I love this part. Do you know what she called it? She clapped back at the quote fun police.
The fun police. That's fucking you. You're the fun police. So
by you mean London Breed.
So ridiculous. Her quotes are, "It's sad that this is a story because of how awesome this concert was. They had a rare performance."
Okay, no, I'm going to take the other side.
She said this. This isn't Zach. I'm paraphrasing, but she said this. And she said, I was there, I was eating, I was drinking, everyone was vaccinated. I'm not going to sit, put my mask on, sip and put my mask on, eat, put my mask on. These are direct quotes.
The point was, she was saying that she had just put her drink down when she stood up to start dancing, but she was still drinking.
Which is not true. I mean, just put her mask down, which is not true. It's a long video. She's not wearing a mask. No one's wearing a freaking mask, which is fine. But this is my point. I want to say something right now. I really want to say something right now. I have to just scream, but calm down. For those of you listening that are Democrats, or you have friends that are Democrats, and they say words like this. They say phrases like this, because I hear them a lot. And the phrase sounds like this. I just cannot understand how someone could possibly vote for Donald Trump. I just don't understand how someone with a heart who's not an asshole could possibly vote for the Republican Party. And believe me, I'm a Democrat. I've asked these questions myself too, and I hear them often. I'm here to tell you that this moment right now, what this mayor has done is exactly why. That's why. Because I know it sounds stupid, but to a large percentage of this country, that type of hypocrisy is like unforgivable. It's the Jonathan Haidt talking about authority and purity, like the values that Republicans really value, where people who say what they mean and mean what they say. And they're not going to talk out both sides of their mouths. So if you're the mayor and you're the leader and you say you have to wear a mask inside, and then not only do you not do it, but then when called upon it, you pretend it's not a big deal.
Okay. So I think here's the thing I want to say is, again, if you are somebody,
the hypocrisy is painful.
Like I'm really a true Democrat, like through and through. So like I really kind of understand where she is coming from. But I will say,
where is she coming from?
Okay,
Please tell me.
I will get to that. But I was going to say is, if you are a Democrat, right? Like, it's not about whether or not you think it's reasonable or not for somebody to vote on an election based on this kind of hypocrisy, right? Like, the left is going to be like, are you effing kidding me? Like, abortion is such a bigger deal than this hypocrisy. So what I'm trying to get at is, it's not about what you think. Like, you just have to accept that somebody else thinks differently, right? Like, I think that's where we break down is like, great. To you, this is not a big deal as compared with abortion, and I would certainly agree with that.
Well,
but
no,
like,
I'm actually, you took it there. I'm not taking it there. A Republican wouldn't say that. I mean, maybe if they had an abortion conversation, what they would say is that, how could I trust you and your views on abortion when I came and trust you to wear the mask that you are requiring your own citizens to wear? Like, I can't trust you for anything. You're a liar. You're a hypocrite, and you should not be in charge. That's what a Republican would say.
So, so now let's actually get down to it, right? So because the mask rule is not that you have to wear a mask while you eat, right? Like, so when you're sitting at a table,
all times inside. I can read it to you if you'd like. What are you saying? Not while you eat? She's not eating in the movie or in the video.
What she is saying, right? Like, I think, and I was saying this to you, I think earlier, right? Like, first of all, of course, I agree. It's totally distasteful. It's like embarrassing. It is totally why people shit on Democrats, because it just feels like this elite mentality, which is like, you, the masses, can't handle be responsible enough to go maskless, but I'm special. And like, I understand this is a vaccinated room, so it's fine for me. Like, it reeks of all that elitism that is just so like gross to, I think, a lot of people, but Republicans really chafe against it. But I do think there's this element of like, all right, you're having a COVID outbreak. You have to you're trying to set a rule kind of as far as you can, understanding that people are going to break it, right? But understanding that like,
yep,
obviously when people eat, they're not going to be wearing a mask. Like that, like
but
indoor
she's not eating.
Okay. And her point is that she had just been eating, she had just been drinking. And she's saying she had just been.
But no one in that video has a mask on. It's a concert. I don't care they're not wearing a mask. I care that you said no one can wear masks and no one's doing it. It's indefensible. And it's bad leadership. And we should be upset about bad leadership in this country because it's driving us into the ground. I'm so sick and tired of people being like, oh, it's okay. Like, this leader's worse. Like, bad leadership. That is the definition of bad leadership. We deserve better as a country. Or maybe we don't. I'm pissed off. We should fight for it.
Excuse me. Okay. I was asking you this earlier, which is, what is the punishment if you don't wear a mask inside?
So we were trying to look this up. It's county by county. So there's probably county officials like who control like the business permits at Focus. But residents can submit complaints to the department's website if they're not wearing a mask. And the theoretical situation is that they can lose their business license if they don't have masks. Now, it depends on the state. I know in New York.
I mean, no, I'm asking about in California. I'm asking about in San Francisco, where this mayor lives. I'm talking about
it's enforced on a vague basis. So here's my point. If you're going to have if you're going to be vague about enforcing it, then don't have the rule. And if that's her point, it's like, these rules are stupid, we should be going out having fun and not wearing masks and getting vaccinated, then don't make the rule. But you're in charge. You made the rule. You've been supportive of the rule. You can tell people to enforce it.
Has she spoken on the rule before?
Yes.
What
it's her job. It's her rule. She said, hey, I can send you the website. You have to wear a mask. You must now wear a mask inside at all. Like, you must wear a mask indoors in public places, even if you're vaccinated. Done. Period. The end. SF.gov. It's not black. It's not gray. It's black and white. If you want to don't do the rule. I understand if she was forced to do this rule and she's thinks it's stupid, but there has been no evidence that she's done this, or else it wouldn't be a hot take.
No, it's a really bad look. It's a really bad.
And
look.
This is the point. I'm and Democrats will say this. Well, Trump's more of an asshole. You think this is worse than putting kids in cages or things like that? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if you're on one side of the aisle and maybe lean right or whatever it is, and you see the left doing this, you'd rather have the asshole that's honest with you than the liar that
but
that
Trump's
isn't.
not honest.
You don't know what you're getting.
The funny thing is there's nobody on the right who's honest.
The folks, though.
I know, but he's not, right? So he's incredibly dishonest.
You say he's not being an educated person who's done their own research and looked at independent sources or lots of news sources. The type of people you're talking about don't trust the CNNs. They don't trust MSNBC.
Sure,
so when people call him a liar, they don't believe it.
Okay, but what I'm trying to get at, right, is it's as easy to see that Trump is lying, right, as it is to see that she's been a hypocrite, right? Because it's literally, he will say one thing on a presidential debate stage and a month later say a different thing on you can just be watching what he says and it's clear. He said Mexico was going to pay for the wall, and then it's so fucking easy to see that he is lying and speaking out of both sides of his mouth. I think that's what Democrats find frustrating is there seems to be this I think Republicans get really mad at Democrat hypocrisy and somehow don't seem to mind conservative hypocrisy. And it's this your level of anger on this feels and you are, I can attest, are very much Democrat, but your level of anger on this feels so much higher than it is on a bunch of conservative lies. And I get it because there's the elitist thing where it feels you guys tell us you're so much better than the rest of us.
I think it's elitist and much more direct. Trump saying Mexico's going to pay for the wall and not being able to deliver on that.
I probably have a better example.
Agreed. There are better examples.
He's such a liar
I think
all
Trump's
the time.
a scumbag,
It's
right?
ridiculous.
I think Trump
he says more lies than he says truths. He's
Trump
literally
nominating pro-life justices after having God knows how many abortions and abusing and being a chauvinist and abuser of women his entire life. There's your hypocrisy, right? I'm not saying this is my problem. This is where we're at now, where it's we have this relative morality that we have where what London Breed has done is morally wrong, in my opinion. I think a lot of people would say hypocrisy and lying on that is wrong. But then we say, well, Trump has done other things wrong and he's worse. So it's okay, maybe, or maybe in this case, yes, he is, right? Yes. But that doesn't make the first one less bad. It's all dog shit.
I just I totally get it, right? Of course this was a bad move. Of course I don't think her response to it was professional, right? I just very much see the scenario where it's she's got some health administrator in her ear being hey, Delta variant cases are going up, whatever's going on, right? And they're she's got 10,000 things on her, given legislative plate or I don't know what the legislation looks like in the mayor's office, but you know what I mean? And you've got the health minister being all right, we're going to put in this rule that hey, people have to wear masks indoors. We're just reinstating the mask thing, whatever. She's yeah, great, whatever. She goes out, she's having a night, she's vaccinated, she's eating and drinking, which is when you're obviously not wearing a mask. She stands up for a minute, she's nursing her drink, she's at a concert, right? I totally get it's a bad look. I totally get it shouldn't have happened. I also totally get how that happens. And
no,
I get how that happens.
It wasn't a one-off moment. It was the mask was nearby. She was not wearing masks that entire concert. And then she doubled down pretending the rules were stupid, the ones that she enforced. And if you're living in a town in this country that watched the whole thing, every small business in that town shut down because they weren't allowed to have people in there, during COVID.
Yeah,
and had to bend over backwards to have masks, and then watching leaders around the country like say the rules, but they don't apply to them.
Yep.
Watch the polls. Like Democrats think they're going to hold fort in 2022. They're going to get rocked, and it's because of stuff like this. Because Democrats be like, "Oh, Trump is bad. Things are worse," and other people down in the country get fired the fuck up, and that's what happens. And anybody who lives in those states knows what I'm talking about.
No, I get it too. Like, I think I do find it a disproportionate reaction compared to other things. And I think that's what's frustrating for Democrats is like, wow, you get so fired up about this. And yet like literally women's lives being fucking destroyed in Texas and like, not a peep, right? Like,
fair, I was pretty fired up about the Texas law.
I'm not talking about you though. Like you are again, but like, I think that in general, like that's sort of like where I come down on it. And so it just feels like my self-righteous feeling is like I'm somehow able to manage to like keep a sense of proportionality around my outrage about it. That doesn't mean I don't agree that it's ridiculous. I mean, the business shutdowns really made me very angry. I think that forcing businesses to close and messing with people's livelihoods like that, I feel very strongly about that as well. Much more strongly than I do about like this mayor not wearing a mask at one night and being a hypocrite, though I find that very distasteful.
Well, you know what is the other piece of this puzzle? I know we're beating this dead horse, but there's another piece of this. Like these masks, these rules, these announcements, and then the news cycles that come, they create fear. They make people want to stay home. Yet when our leaders are going out and partying like it's no big deal, like there's the signal. That's the leadership that drives me nuts, where you have folks that are staying home. They're not spending in local stores. They're not going to the bar. They're not going to the museums, whatever it is. And that's hurting the small businesses, hurting the local economy. While to our leader, no big deal. Like fun police. Like it's
the fun police line does really feel like, are you kidding me?
It just like if you can't see why that doesn't rile up a whole bunch of people, like you're just. No,
I do see it.
Not you. I'm collective, the royal you. Anyway, we've gotten Zach triggered for a day. He's in a relatively good mood because the Bills are 1-1. Josh Allen looking a little rocky. It's been we're getting the offense in gear, but Buffalo Bills defense is out of control, guys. We blanked the Miami Dolphins. For those of you who live in Miami, squish the fish, baby. Suck it. 35-0 on the road.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
Poor John is going to have to do so much volume editing on this because your levels have been.
It's possible. Wow. But I'll tell you what.
Oh, he's putting on the Bills hat. Oh, Zach. You're baby, so blown out. Your mic is so blown out. Oh, goodness.
This weekend, feeling pretty good. John, thank you for editing and make me sound good. Guys, we love you. We'll see you next Thursday.
We love you for our last episode together.
Let us know your comments. Let us know your comments. If you disagree, hit me in the YouTube section. Hit me on Twitter.
In the beginning of all this, I was reading the comments really religiously. I've been bad about it. I apologize. I do like interacting with you guys in comments. I just got busy with work things and then also like just needed
to take
from feedback. But it was really just like, I was like, oh, okay, there's only so much feedback you want to take on at any given period of time.
They've now ended this podcast. No one's still listening, but we love you.
We've edited
Thank you all for tuning in. Go Bills. Bye, everybody.
Bye.